Hi, this isn't just a seasonal shift. This is a soul checkpoint. Cancer season is calling you home, but not to your past, to the sanctuary that you're here to build. Now, yes, the summer solstice and the start of Cancer season was about 3 days ago, so I am a little bit late, but that moment in the sky, it's not just a one-day event. It's the energetic blueprint of not only Cancer season, but the entire summer solstice, a karmic reprogramming that underlies every shift we'll experience between now and the fall equinox. Kind of similar to a solar return chart, it sets the tone for the entire summer season. So these next 3 months carry a purpose, a rhythm, and a soul assignment. And this chart tells us exactly what that is. Hey there, I'm Sarah with Life with Training Wheels. If you're new here, welcome. If you are returning and you've been here a while, thanks for coming back. So I've been studying astrology for about 5 to 7 years now, originally just for my own growth, reflection, and clarity. But the deeper I went, the more I realized how powerful it is, and I want to share it with other people as well. So around here, I use astrology not to predict life, but to empower you to live it more consciously. Because I believe life isn't happening to us, it's happening for us. And I kind of think of it like a choose your own adventure, and astrology helps us choose the adventure that is most aligned with where we're supposed to be going in this world. So Life with Training Wheels is all about helping you navigate those messy turning points, spiritual awakenings, and personal transformations using astrology, tarot, intuition, and grounded practices, both other spiritual and holistic wellness practices to guide the way. So if you feel like something's shifting, like there's more to your story than meets the eye, then you are in the right place. So now let's get into what this astrology is about. So if you love the movie Field of Dreams, then you'll secretly love the moment that we're living through right now, because that iconic line, "If you build it, they will come, he will come," it isn't just a movie quote. It's the exact spiritual frequency of this Cancer season and summer solstice energy. Right now, the cosmos, the universe is asking us to build something on faith. Not because we have proof, but because we have a vision and we need to hold on to that vision. So now, let's go ahead and get into the actual astrology. Okay, so now let's get into the chart. So Cancer season starts when the sun enters Cancer, which we see here, the sun at 0 degrees Cancer. This was on June 20th, 2025 at about 8:52 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So, and like I said, this is the energetic blueprint for the entirety of not only Cancer season, but the summer season. Similar to a birth chart, the solstices and equinoxes, the moment of those times kind of set the tone for everything that's going to be happening over the next 3 months until the next equinox or solstice or whatever. So anything that happens kind of has this energetic undercurrent underneath it. So the sun is entering Cancer, and Jupiter is here. Jupiter conjunct the sun is a very, very nice energy. Jupiter, first of all, is very happy in Cancer. It's where it is exalted. So it's where it does best. And then Jupiter is the planet of expansion, right? It's the expansion. It's the planet of wisdom and growth and learning and knowledge and travel sometimes. And the sun, just talking about Jupiter and the sun meeting up together, the sun can sometimes represent like our work, what we're here to work on and things like that, our career. So there could be some expansion in your career opportunities and your work opportunities, things like that. Also, the sun is our vitality, our energy, things like that. So overall, generally speaking, we should have some good energy around this time. Feeling good. Now, because Jupiter does expand things, I would say the one thing you have to watch out for with Jupiter meeting up with the sun is just an inflated ego. So just either in yourself or noticing in other people. So just be wary of that. But so then let's talk a little bit about Cancer energy. So what is Cancer energy, right? Cancer energy kind of represents the home and our emotional safety and our sense of belonging and security, and it's the things we like to protect, right? And it carries the symbol of Cancer is the crab, so it carries that energy a lot. So kind of like that harder shell, protecting this nice soft inside, right? And but it's cardinal, so it does take action, right? The sign of Cancer is a cardinal sign, so it does like to take action and initiate things, but kind of only when provoked, because it's water, so it's also receptive. So it'll take action, but kind of like the crab, it doesn't do in a direct path like, say, Aries. It kind of goes here to there to there to there, right? But it does like to protect the things that it loves and itself. It's also a very nurturing energy. So Jupiter and the sun in Cancer could be expanding things in our home, could be expanding our awareness of our like what we find emotional safety in, our sense of belonging and security, could be expanding our nurturing, our desire to nurture others, perhaps, as well as our desire to be nurtured, and maybe expanding our understanding of what it is that we need to feel, or how we like to be nurtured, those types of things. Jupiter is going to be expanding the home. So the other thing with the sun in Cancer and everything, right? That's where our focus is going to be. So, our emotional safety and our home environment and everything is going to be top of our mind. And on the political scene, and the world scene, like with Cancer kind of representing your home and your emotional safety and you wanting to protect it, and with Jupiter here expanding those things, like we all may be a little more protective of our people and of our home. And as countries, that also means your homeland, your ideologies, what makes you feel safe. Those types of things will be expanding. So just wanting to have our homes taken care of, our people protected, like that is going to be, we are going to feel that expansive energy there. So now we look to see what the sun and Jupiter, any conversations that they're having with other planets, and they're having several. First, the Jupiter and sun are sextiling Mars over here in Virgo. Virgo is an earth sign, so this kind of grounds in this more emotional energy, right? Because Cancer also, like I said, represents our emotions. So this could be a time when we are maybe overly emotional about things. And so the earth energy that's in this chart will kind of help ground that in. But it also, Mars represents our drive and our willpower, right? So this sextile is giving us the energy and the drive, and like a yes to go after things that we want to go after in regards to our home. And it in Virgo is helping us keep them organized and to have a plan. So if this is a time where you have like wanted to purchase property, wanted to organize your home, wanted to do something, you know, in regards to your home or in regards to your emotional safety, you know, because Cancer, is just where we feel safe, can also hold those energetic blueprints from our early childhood and stuff like that. So if there's things that you're unearthing there, Mars is giving us the go ahead and helping us keep it organized and grounded, and, you know, making lists and checking all our that our ducks are in a row, dotting our I's, crossing our T's. Mars is helping us go after it, but in an organized fashion and having a plan. And then we also have a sextile here to the moon in Taurus as well as Chiron in Aries. So the moon in Taurus, both the moon and the sun are at 0 degrees. So this really is a like a beginning point, right? It's clearly a beginning point because it's the summer solstice, it's the start of summer, it's the start of Cancer season. But with the moon being at 0 degrees here too, I feel like this is important. This is our emotions being online. Our emotions in Taurus, the moon in Taurus is a very grounded energy, right? It's our emotions, it's helping stabilize any emotional excitement that might come here. Like, okay, well, you know, we might be having big emotions, but are they aligned with our value system, right? Taurus's values. Are they, it's just helping us stay grounded and making sure that anything that's coming up, anything that we are wanting to expand, that we are emotionally on board with it and that we are grounded and not reacting too impulsively. And then with Chiron here, I believe that this is bringing a lot of healing to our home. If we have into our emotional safety and, you know, we've all been working through this Chiron and Aries for so long on our wounds regarding, you know, self-identity, where we've given up ourselves for the sake of others and things like that. But with this sextile to Cancer, and the Sun and Jupiter, you know, we might, it might be expanding some feelings, but I feel like it's also expanding some maybe compassion, maybe some understanding, maybe some, it feels like a really good healing energy, bringing healing and understanding to any of these wounds that might be related to our home, to our growing up, to, you know, whether it's our past home or our current home, bringing some healing and, you know, kind of saying, okay, well, that's where I've been and this is where I want to go type energy. And so both of those, I like that, that the moon and Mars are both in earth signs, kind of grounding this emotional energy. And also the moon in Taurus, it helps us be, you know, Taurus is very persistent, steady, you know, can be kind of stubborn, but it likes to also move slow, you know, because it is an earth sign. So yeah, bringing more stability into what it is that we want to grow and expand in our home and in our emotional safety. So then the other big thing we see is this giant red line here to the Sun and Jupiter are squaring Saturn and Neptune. Now, this is the third and final square that Jupiter and Saturn will have. And it's kind of a crisis in consciousness because it's the third and final one. It's like, okay, we've been through this a couple times before. Now something really has to give. We really have to find this solution here. And so that's what we're going to talk about next. So this is more than a square. It's a turning point in the clash between truth, because it's changed signs, right? Before, Jupiter was in Gemini and Saturn was in Pisces. So it's a turning point in the clash between truth and illusion, the Gemini Pisces energy, and between emotional safety and the pressure to act. Cancer, emotional safety, and Aries, pressure to act. So it's a turning point in the clash between truth and illusion, between emotional safety and the pressure to act. So the Sun plus Jupiter in Cancer is asking, what does emotional safety really mean, and where do we expand through nurturing, ancestral wisdom, and community? Saturn plus Neptune in Aries counters with, are you acting from truth or illusion? Because Neptune represents illusion as well, and Saturn is the truth. It is the here and the now and the physical and everything. So are you building, and Saturn is the builder. So are you building a dream or chasing a fantasy? And so the square between them is a kind of like a cosmic gut check. Are you moving too fast without grounding? Aries wants to move fast, but Saturn kind of slows it down, and Neptune kind of muddies the waters a little bit. Are you stuck in emotional patterns instead of rising into leadership? So back when Jupiter was in Gemini and Saturn was in Pisces, it was all about information overload, hidden truths, the collapse of trusted systems, Saturn, and mental and spiritual confusion. Now we're more in the embodiment phase of it. This isn't about ideas anymore. It's about living your values. And so it's got some personal growth vibes to it. So the Sun plus Jupiter is saying, shine a light on what makes you feel truly safe and supported. And Saturn and Neptune are saying, take the real steps to make your vision, Neptune, tangible, Saturn. No more bypassing, no more fantasy-driven plans. And the square is saying, balance your drive to act with the need to emotionally ground and stay spiritually aligned. So this is a beautiful time to ask yourself, what am I ready to build that actually nourishes me, right? This wants to build. We're in a building phase. Aries, Saturn, Neptune. We're built all at the beginning degrees, right? Saturn and Neptune met up at the 0 degree point. We're building our dreams now. So what am I ready to build actually nourishes me, and what old emotional responses am I ready to leave behind? And then in the collective, the people, Cancer, are rising with emotional wisdom, and institutions, Saturn, are confused with this Neptune conjunction and acting out of fear, which we clearly see that in the world. Also with Jupiter and the Sun expanding, right? This is wanting to protect your home. Aries, is the warrior and things like that. So this square, there's a tension between, this drive to protect our home, all those things. So the pressure is on for our leaders, especially, which I'm not sure they're doing very well at, but to act wisely and not react blindly. So we'll see how this goes. That astrology has, this is why I say it's a choose your own adventure, because it has the lower vibrational energy, which is to react blindly, go too fast, right? Saturn is trying to hold us down. It's trying to give us the opportunity to build our dreams into reality, to see what's real, what's not, and to go, to act, but go at reasonable pace. But then on the other side, we could be too delusional, too reactionary, act too quickly, too emotional, those things. So, we'll see how this all unfolds out, but both possibilities are in this underlying energetic blueprint. So the squares aren't necessarily roadblocks. They are tests. Can you act on your dreams without losing your center? Can you move forward with both courage, Aries, and compassion, Cancer? We're not just dreaming anymore. We're building the next era of soul-led living, brick by brick, heart by heart. So that is what this Jupiter-Saturn square is asking us. So, moving on. So we've talked about everything here. Now there's a couple other fascinating things underlying this energy. So there are two Yods in this chart, and a Yod is a formation. It's called the finger of God, and it represents karmic patterns and growth that need to be addressed, like a spiritual calling, kind of. And it's like a lot of tension focused in one area. And we've got two here. We've got, so they are created from a sextile. So I'll show you both of them. So they're created by the sextile here between the Sun and Jupiter and Mars. So that's the nice piece of it. And then there's two inconjuncts. And inconjuncts are this chart pattern where the planets don't really see each other. They don't understand each other. They're in different signs that have nothing in common. They're not, one is masculine, one is feminine. Their cardinality is different. Like everything about the signs are different. So they don't see each other. They don't understand each other. So there's like a frustration energy underneath it. So we have this part, and then an inconjunct between Mars and Pluto, and an inconjunct between Pluto and the Sun and Jupiter. So it creates this like long triangle, which is called the Yod, or the finger of God. And the focal point here is Pluto. And then the other one we have is this sextile between Pluto and Saturn and Neptune. And, the inconjunct between Mars and Pluto. And the inconjunct in between Saturn and Neptune and Mars. So really the big players here are Mars and Pluto. So the two Yods at the time of this solstice is like a rare and potent message from the universe that says, pay attention, something karmic is asking to be alchemized through pressure and discomfort and ultimately breakthrough. So the first Yod we'll talk about is this one pointing to Pluto. So we have the sextile with the Sun and Jupiter in Cancer, like I said, to Mars and Virgo, and both inconjuncts are pointing to Pluto. So, Pluto is a transformational force here. It's a karmic pressure point demanding radical evolution in our collective thinking, Aquarius, technological integration, Aquarius, figuring out what to do with all this AI, whether it's going to go down a good path or a bad path. We're in the process of kind of collectively deciding that. Social structures, right? Because Saturn rules Aquarius, still is the traditional ruler. And then radical evolution in our ideals of sovereignty, innovation, and equity, right? Because Aquarius represents the collective, but it's also where we want to break free from things that have been. It's where we want to be different and not be stuck in a box. So the Cancer energy, Jupiter and the Sun, is bringing in these emotional roots, safety, bringing us to our soul family, trying to find our tribe, basically. And the Mars and Virgo energy is bringing in that organization, bringing in routines, bringing in the ideas of health and our food systems and service. And Virgo also represents work, right? So the rituals that keep life functioning. So it's this like, what do we want our home and our emotional safety and things like that to be like, and our everyday life, right? Like, how will our everyday life support the dreams and visions that we have, and how we want to expand our home life, and this work-life balance as well. How can we radically transform that as a society, right? We all feel this. I feel these two Yods especially, but this whole chart overall, like, a lot of us are feeling this, like, energy of the work systems, going to a job that we don't like, spending all this time away from home. Like, it's just not working for us anymore, right? Like, it's not a good, supportive, nurturing energy. There's more to life than that. And I think we're all waking up to that, right? We're all uncovering the truths of the systems that have been keeping us asleep for so long, realizing that we can have this abundance, right? Jupiter, we can have this abundance in our home. We can have this emotional safety, but our day-to-day activities don't really support that when we're going to work all day. But we all feel this, like, need and desire to change, but in order to make that a reality, we need this entire transformation and uncovering and everything of the system in the collective, in society as a whole. So these two want to build a healthier, more emotionally attuned system, but Pluto says you can't do that until you face your attachments to outdated structures of control, fear, and collective programming. So, and inconjuncts aren't just adjustments, they reflect blind spots. So, like I said, the planets don't see each other clearly. So the Yod forces kind of this uncomfortable reckoning of, how do I create a nurturing and functional life, the Cancer and Virgo energy, when the very systems and networks I depend on, Pluto and Aquarius, are in flux or need to be dismantled first, right? This is what we're collectively facing and collectively thinking about it. So this first rod says, you're doing the right things, but if you don't transform the foundation, your belief about what community, technology, or liberation really means, you'll recreate the same old problems. So we're in this pivotal moment of collectively recreating, what our homes and our service to the world, our service to our food system, like, we're at this point of redoing everything, and the old system has to collapse before we can build it again. So then the second Yod is pointing to Mars and Virgo, right? So this is the sextile between Saturn and Neptune and Pluto in Aquarius with the inconjuncts here to Mars. So Mars as the focal point is like precision, strategy, service-oriented action, and clean execution, right? Virgo's very organized. And so we need to restructure how we organize, especially around the Virgo themes, health and healing, agriculture, so our healthcare system, agriculture and food systems, right? Get all the nastiness out of our food. Go back to, like, instead of having lawns, having, fruit trees everywhere, have everybody growing their own food, things like that. Our workforce and service structures, just how we work, how we view work, and sovereign systems of support coming from the Aries energy. So Saturn and Neptune and Aries are like visionaries with weapons, right? This is about making the dream real through bold self-initiative, but it can also reflect chaotic or disillusioned attempts to force the dream, right? So that's kind of the balance here. And Pluto, again, is asking us to overhaul and reclaim power, not through dominance, but through tech-savvy, soul-aligned innovation. Because Aquarius is all about innovation as well. So this Yod says, excuse me. So this Yod says you've got big dreams with Saturn and Neptune. You're awakening to new social possibilities, Pluto and Aquarius, but now you've got to get your hands dirty. Mars and Virgo says clean up the mess, fix the machine, build the system, and do the work. Get to work. So there's no shortcut here. This is a divine directive to act in integrity with discernment. We need discernment, especially with this Neptune here, and grounded practicality. The dream has to be implemented step by step, right? Let's write down the plan. Let's have our to-do list. That's what how Virgo is telling us to do this. So it really is this point of building up, like, how do we dream our home to be? How do we dream our work and our service to others and our food system and our healthcare system? Like, how do we want society to be? Because it's not working. None of us are happy with how society has been. All these truths that, have been coming to the surface with this Gemini energy and this Aquarius energy, like, we're tired of being lied to. We're tired of being hoodwinked. We're tired of being controlled. So, and we want our sovereignty back, right? We want to build our sovereignty. So how do we do that, right? We need to continue tearing things down, uncovering, right? Pluto is uncovering those dark truths, continuing to uncover everything that we need to uncover so we can tear it down. So things have to get uglier than they already are, in order to fully tear it down and to build up the new things in practical, grounded ways to create the life we want individually and collectively, right? Okay. So, yeah, kind of just to recap. So the Pluto in Aquarius Yod is wanting us to break the system, reimagine community, deprogram your mind, because Aquarius is an air sign, so it's very much in the mind. Connect in new, authentic ways, which could, have technological advancements there. And emotional and physical security must be rooted in liberation. Aquarius is liberation, not fear-based control. And then the Mars in Virgo is cleaning up what's been neglected, build systems that sustain life, small steps over grand illusions, and sovereignty begins with self-discipline and service. So the solstice isn't really just a shift in seasons. It is so much more than that. It is like a cosmic assignment. The two Yods, the mystical fingers of fate, are active. Are you ready to break free from the outdated systems and build a new collective future? And can you actually do the work of organizing your life and your community with precision, integrity, and discernment? This isn't abstract. This is physical, practical, cellular. Clean your systems internally and externally. Reclaim your power emotionally and communally, and start building what your soul has been dreaming of. And I do have several offers that go along with this video. Some one-on-one offers if you want to dive deeper and see how this solstice is affecting you personally and where this is hitting you personally in your chart. I do have a couple offers that I'll go over at the end, where I can help you kind of dissect how this is hitting you personally and what you personally are being asked to kind of build here. Okay, so we've got a couple other important things in the chart. I'm going to go ahead and use my highlighter instead of the pen here. So we've got two mini grand trines, which are kind of like this protective energy, I feel like, especially because of the planets that the grand trines are involving. So the main one, I would say at this point in time, is the Sun and Jupiter sextiling Mars, and then sextiling the Moon and Chiron, and then Mars and Mars is in a trine to the Moon and Chiron. So this is so in the mini grand trine, kind of similar to the Yod, the mini grand trine is kind of like it's pointing to a particular point, right? And like all of it's just a very nurturing energy, like two sextiles and a trine, like all of these planets really want to work together. And so with them kind of pointing to this Sun and Jupiter, I feel like it is protection and rewiring our home, with Mars giving us the drive and the willpower to make the changes that we need to make in our home and our emotional safety and the nurturing, how we want to feel nurtured and how we want to be able to nurture others. And then with this Chiron and the Moon, it's providing a lot of healing to the home, right? Like healing old wounds, recognizing that if we do have wounds from our past home environments, like we don't have to carry that forward, right? Like we don't have to repeat patterns. We can leave it in the past, not necessarily forget about it or anything like that, but why bring it into the future? Let's leave the things in the past and let's build something new, and let's build it in an organized fashion based on service to others and things like that. Like, so it's this very protective, nice energy of let's build this thing. Let's build this thing the way we want it, the way we feel safe, right? And then the second one is this pattern that's been behind the scenes for quite a while and will continue to be behind the scenes for quite a while. And I think it is really beautiful. And it's this Saturn-Uranus conjunction and a sextile with Pluto and Aquarius, and a sextile with Uranus and Taurus, and then Uranus is in a trine with Pluto. So, and Uranus at 29 degrees, and this trine has been in effect kind of as these planets have been shifting. They just keep kind of staying together because they're all so slow moving. And I really believe with this being the outer planets, Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus, I really feel like this is the universe, because these are big societal shifts, right? Like anytime one of these outer planets changes sign, it isn't just a personal shift. This is a big collective, like world shift. These are what represents the shifts in ages, the shifts in revolutions, the shifts in just overall the collective energy. And with this trine, I feel like it's really like divine protection over everything that's going on. And that's the only thing that, is making me feel kind of better about everything that's going on, is we have these two fingers of God. We have this mini grand trine that's been active. Like, yes, things are chaotic. Yes, things are ugly. But we need to see that ugly in order to cleanse it, right? And we have this divine protection as a collective over it. So this is kind of, all of this is kind of where if you build it, they will come, right? Because the focal point here is to this Saturn and Neptune in Aries. Aries wants to go. It wants to initiate. And with Saturn here, it wants to build, right? Neptune is the dream. It can either be the illusion, the disillusionment, or the dream. And Saturn is helping us bring it into reality. And Aries is giving us the drive and the initiative to go out after it. So this is really if you build it, they will come. But first, we got to finish tearing it down in a very methodical manner and keep it emotionally, steady, right? So that to me is really beautiful and gives me hope, really, and allows me to kind of lean into this North Node, which we'll get here in a second, of trust. Okay, so now let's go ahead and talk about that. So this is one of the last points. So we have Mercury here in Cancer in a trine to this North Node in Pisces and a sextile to the South Node in Virgo. So Mercury represents like our mind, our communication, our thought patterns, our thought processes. And in Cancer, and with this trine to the North Node, I mean, this can really open up our intuition, guide us to being, it wants us to be led by spirit, right? It wants us to kind of, like Aries wants us to take control. Virgo wants us to be very organized. It wants to taste, touch it, smell it. But this Mercury in Cancer, trining the North Node in Pisces, is kind of asking us, well, especially with this Neptune here, like, we may not be able to see everything clearly. We can feel what we want, and we kind of, we know we want to do it methodically. We know we want to build structures, but we are kind of acting blind here. And this trine is asking us to go with our gut instinct, and really kind of fall back and trust, be led by spirit, lead with compassion and love. Both of these signs are about compassion and love, and that to realize that not everybody's ideas has to be the same, right? It's kind of this live and let live. Like, we don't all have it figured out. We aren't all going to, we all feel, like a stirring, and we all want something different, and we all see everything that's going on a little bit differently, and that's okay. That's part of the tearing down process. And it's okay to let everybody kind of feel into this, because we're all at different paths on our awakening, on our, our life experiences, everything like that. So everything in the world, we're all going to be viewing it in a different way. And this is asking us to just to be open-minded, not closed-minded, but to lead from compassion, lead from this place of seeing that we are all connected. Even when things are not going the way that we think they should and things like that, like just leaning into this compassion for everything that's going on to everybody, and compassion to ourselves that we don't always agree with other people, and that's okay. And it's also okay that people don't see the world the same way that we do as well. So kind of this live and let live, but to really fall into this relying on our gut instinct, not right. Like the mind is in Cancer, not in Virgo. Action is in Virgo. We want to be detailed and organized with our action, but with our ideas, we kind of just want to sit and receive, right? Not force our way. That's when we're going to get into trouble. We need to, with our communication, we need to listen, and we need to be willing to be led by spirit. And with the South Node in Virgo, we need to let go of those old structures, needing tangible proof of everything. And to realize that even though feelings and emotions aren't tangible, they really are. Like our emotions, I call them our emotional guidance system. It's like our internal GPS. And if we keep shoving them down, ignoring them, we're not going to understand what we're being called to, we're going to keep kind of going down the wrong path, right? So if we tune into our emotional guidance system and realize that it is a real thing and that our emotions can be tangible, and to lean into them, then we are going to break open our minds. We're going to be able to tap into our intuition, into our higher selves, and know which way to go. And then it also is squaring Chiron here, which again is bringing this opportunity to bring healing to around the home, to bring clarity, around a situation, with this being the mind and communication. Maybe we can have some healing talks or something like that. With a square, it might be a little uncomfortable. It might be, we might have some realizations that are uncomfortable, but they'll ultimately provide some healing for us. So this is a opening of the mind, learning to trust your intuition, your gut instincts, not having to know all the answers, but remaining grounded in it and not just being so reactionary, right? But to trust at the same time, and to lean into that trust, lean into spirit. Okay, so I'm not going to go through, the astrology for the summer, for the whole summer season, but there are just in Cancer season, so from now until around July 20th, 21st, I do want to point out some of the things that are going to be going on. Remember, this sets the energetic blueprint, the energetic tone for Cancer season and for the next 3 months. But, there are going to be movements. Clearly, the planets are going to keep moving. So the big things going on from now until Leo season are several retrogrades. So Saturn, first Neptune is going to be turning retrograde July 4th. Saturn is going to be turning retrograde July 13th, and Mercury is going to be turning retrograde July 18th. So we're going to have this a little bit of a slowdown, a little bit of a review of what's been going on up until that point. But there's also going to be some speeding up because July 7th, Uranus will enter Gemini. So this is definitely a big deal because there is this historical pattern of when, and we're kind of already seeing it, right? When Uranus enters Gemini, it sometimes does mean war. When Uranus entered Gemini last, that was when we had World War II. Before that, I believe that was the start of the Civil War. So Uranus takes... So just to talk a little bit about Uranus and Gemini and why it can coincide with war. So Uranus takes 84 years to orbit the zodiac, and the last two times major global wars unfolded. So 1941 to 49, we had Uranus and Gemini, and World War II happened in December of 1941, and then we had the Hiroshima Nagasaki, 1945, and the Cold War began. And there were also major advancements in air combat, propaganda, and communications, right? Which is all Gemini type stuff. Communication, technology, air, air, it's an air sign. And then before that, 1858 to 1866, we had the American Civil War, 1861 to 1865. And then we also had advancements in communication, the telegraph, railroads, which is, it also represents travel, short distance travel, and newspapers. And those all kind of revolutionized warfare as well. So there's strong historical link between Uranus and Gemini and revolutionary technologies, information and communication warfare, civil and ideological conflict, and sudden splits, right? Gemini is like the sign of the twins. It's duality. It's division, right? So, and it's the sign of communication, ideas, media, education, travel, duality. It also rules the nervous system, networks, and language. So Uranus brings shock, rebellion, innovation, sudden change. That's what that planet is about. So Uranus in Gemini can bring the sudden disruption of communication networks, split ideologies, and revolutionary mental shifts. So think mind wars, cyber wars, media revolutions, split realities, and can be propaganda on steroids, right? Like, I think one thing that we're about to experience is with the advancements in AI capabilities, really not being able to trust. I mean, I've seen news reports that are completely AI that look like real news, right? So not being able to believe what we're seeing. Like, if we're not seeing it with our own two eyes and experiencing it firsthand, it may or may not be true, which is partly why we need to use discernment and really, do a gut check. Like, does this feel right? And so why war? Because conflict often begins in the mind, right? And Gemini rules the stories we tell, and Uranus shakes those stories apart. And because Gemini also rules siblings, neighbors, twins, Uranus in Gemini often triggers civil wars, which is internal divisions, sibling nations at odds, and battles over truth, ideology, and mental frameworks. So when truth becomes fragmented, Gemini, and destabilized by Uranus, people often polarize violently. But it's not just doom. Uranus in Gemini is also the revolution of thought, education, and innovation. So we could see some major, upgrades and things to that nature. So past Uranus and Gemini periods also brought AI, computers, and automation, media revolutions, flight and transportation leaps, and breaking racial, gender, and social norms. So it's not just war, it's intellectual rebellion. And who controls the mind controls the war. So we really need to use our discernment here and not fall into picking side, right? Like, nobody wins at war. Nobody wins. So yeah. So now that we know Uranus and Gemini equals revolutionary mental tension, let's look at the Cancer season setup. So, one thing we are going to have this Cancer season is Venus is going to meet up with Uranus in Taurus before it enters Gemini. So when Venus meets up with Uranus, this might bring sudden shifts in love, money, values, relationships, and then it'll enter the mental realm in Gemini where we can reframe everything. And then, sorry about that noise. So then shortly after that, Uranus will enter Gemini, where lightning hits the nervous system. The airwaves get loud and truth becomes slippery. You might be feeling some nervous system, like dysregulation and things like that. And I do have, one of the offerings I have is a workbook, and part of it is about the nervous system and just kind of reprogramming and grounding ourselves and everything like that. And so then Neptune, Saturn, and Mercury all go retrograde. So it's a slowdown in clarity, structure, and mental processing, kind of introspection. Might be some more confusion as well when Neptune goes retrograde. That can either bring more clarity or more confusion, but it does have us go. Retrogrades are always more of like an internal review, bringing the energy internal rather than external. So it's like this speeding up, because Gemini is a fast-moving energy, and so is Uranus. So these want to slow up, but speed up, but everything else is slowing down. So it's like this mental overload meets soul fatigue. And so Cancer season may feel emotionally flooded, especially with Jupiter here expanding the emotions. It's the water sign in Cancer trying to protect us from the mental storm to come. So people feel urgency, but something is telling us to also slow down and be careful. So Cancer is trying to teach us to feel first, right? Tap into our intuition, protect the sacred, right? Cancer wants to protect, it's the crab, and then speak. That's what we're trying to learn throughout this season. So it's necessary to pause and anchor in Cancer before Gemini and air, tries to break everything, really. So yeah, Uranus and Gemini kind of shakes the very foundation of truth, of thought, and communication. And when minds fracture, societies follow. So it's not just a war of weapons that's going on. It's a war of ideas, of ideologies, and of information. And this time it may be waged on the airwaves, the networks, and in our very nervous systems. But so that's why we're being called, especially right now, before all of these shifts take place. we're being called to find our sanctuary, anchor into truth that lives in your body. Moon rules Cancer, and that is the body. So anchor into what lives in our body, not just our mind, and let intuition guide what data alone can't, because the data is going to be a little confusing. There's going to be propaganda. There's going to be the AI not knowing what's real, what's not. So it's going to be a really interesting summer. But the key is there, we do have all this protection, even though things are chaotic and we need to break things down. And, Uranus is bringing shifts. Like, it's all being divinely protected. And I truly believe that. And I truly feel that. And this is why I love astrology, is because we can see this coming, and we can each individually excuse me, ground in, really hone in on our discernment, not act impulsively. When things get shaken up, like, recognize that is like being meant to, and looking at it like, okay, well, how can I make the best of this? How can I use this to build what I want to build here and here and destruct here, right? Like, using the energy that we know is coming to the best that we can think on an individual level, and then that will in turn help raise the vibration of what is going on in the collective. So keep your vibration high, and make the most of the season. There are going to be a lot of changes, but we really are being asked to build, right? Saturn, Neptune in Aries wants to build. Mars wants to do it in an organized fashion. And it's all about creating this emotional safety. Like, what do we want our home to look like? What do we want our future to look like? Now is the time to build it and to break down, Uranus and Gemini. That's the other thing. It doesn't, yes, historically it has meant war. Yes, there is war going on in the world right now, but it also is breaking down the systems of communication, right? Like, this is, I think, one of those moments where we get to figure out as a society where we want AI to go, like, if we want to be victims to it, or if we want to take charge and figure out how to have it do good for us. And, we each get to play a part in the collective building of that. So the several offers that I have, and then we'll be done here. So I am offering a one-to-one astrology reading of looking at how this solstice is hitting your chart in particular, but also doing just an overall chart reading as well, like an overall natal chart reading, and then looking at how this is hitting you, what you're being called to build, and things like that. And then a smaller offer, just not really looking at the natal chart so much, but just looking at where these things are hitting. And if you have a particular question about something that you feel you are really struggling working through, I can answer that. I also have a Cancer season and Summer Solstice workbook called Build the Sanctuary, which is really a 29-page document with 6 different sections to it, kind of walking you through building this sanctuary at home, looking at past thoughts, patterns, some nervous system regulation stuff, things like that. I also have a tarot spread that I have created for this Cancer season that you can download for free, or you can pay and I will do the tarot reading for you. And And then I've also got some free journal prompts too. So I'll put a link to all those in the description below. And if you need any support this Cancer season or this summer season, or have any questions about any of this, please do let me know. If you like this content, give me a like, a comment. I will also put a link to buy me a cup of coffee. That helps this channel grow, helps me be able to keep producing this content for you. And yeah, I hope to see you back here, and yeah, check out some of these other videos here.